Alright everybody, welcome back. Now if you were with us at Guilford last year, you'll remember this project as being the final project that we did before we took our summer break. And the reason that we're doing it again, and for those of you that haven't taken it, it'll be a good opportunity to kind of get on board with how things are going to go in Design 2 and Design 3, is it will reintroduce some methods, some concepts, some terms that we haven't used for 3 months and are probably pretty well eroded. So it'll kind of just be a nice welcoming back, it'll be a nice refresher on skills, things like that. Now it's a big project. There are 5 total components. I'm going to make videos for every component, and this one is the first component, and you do want to do this in order because this first part is what's called a mood board or a vision board. These are things that you're going to be doing a lot this year. As a more intermediate to advanced designer, there's going to be mood boards or vision boards required for almost every project. So we'll start with this, and this is going to inform the rest of our design decisions. These are not difficult, in fact they're kind of fun, and these are very real world. So if you are thinking about a job in design or marketing or advertising, you will be doing vision boards. There's no doubt about it. Because really what it does is it solidifies your idea to a client, and it's something that they can look at and get a sense of, yeah, I like where this is going, or no, this is going in the wrong direction, before you really put in a lot of work only to realize you got to start over. So you're going to download this file, this mood board template. This will be on your Google Classroom. We're going to start with this. Now we are branding shoes, so I came up with the idea of I've done like punk shoes, I've done skateboard shoes in the past. I'm going to switch up a little bit. I'm going to try more like work boots, but I'm kind of going to gear them towards like the military side. So what I need to do is I need to come up with the client's name, a tagline, which is like just do it, have it your way, a little saying, and then an overview. And the overview is about a paragraph just explaining who this fake company is. Remember, you're not rebranding a company. You're not doing Nike or Reebok. They've already got a brand. They're doing just fine. You're going to make something up from scratch. Now, feel free to be very creative and make it up completely yourself. I do think it's probably time, though, that we talk about this. Some of you have used it, artificial intelligence. In cases like this, I find it pretty useful, and I wouldn't begrudge you if you chose to do the same thing that I'm going to do. So what I did is I plugged in here, create a shoe brand for a functional combat boot designed for military, construction, and outdoor people. Make sure to include a name and tagline as well as some key demographics. Let's see what it spits out. Alright, the name is Iron Stride, tagline, built for battle, worn for life. And then we'll get a little overview and some features and some demographics. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to spit out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start copying and pasting. Control C, go back to Illustrator. Now you'll see that we got 2 layers. Images and type will go here. So this layer is locked up right now, and I'll show you how that's going to work. But I'm going to get the type tool, drop in a little bit of type here, Control V. Alright, let's make sure that's a little bit bigger. 12-point type's a bit small. Alright, got the name of the client, good. I can just Control C, Control V this, and let's get that tagline now. Control C, double click to make it editable, and Control V. That just barely fit. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Alright, now the overview. This I'm going to use area type. So I get the type tool, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag to make a box, because there's going to be a lot of type that goes in here. Alright, so let me go back to just, I'll grab the overview. I think that'll be a good place to start. And this other information I'm going to want to save as well, but it might not actually make it onto the vision board. Alright, so that's that. So let's go ahead and drop that down so I can get my type in. About 16-point type, looks pretty good. Alright, now I need to start thinking about colors, fonts, textures, patterns, and images. So I'll go to Adobe Fonts. And I might need to log in. Hopefully not. We'll see. Alright, let's, I'm going to go to Browse All. Or you know what, I'll just start here and I'll put military. See what comes up. This stencil doesn't look too bad. This one's kind of cool. Now I really want to make sure that the font that I pick reflects my brand. So if it's if they're combat boots, I don't want some dainty, swirly, curly type of font. I want something that's fairly strong, probably kind of masculine. This Octon looks pretty good. I think maybe I'll just add this family. You guys probably won't have to do this step. Well, you might, and if so, not a big deal. So Octon, where to go? All right, so it's there. So let's go ahead and let's put my type in. I'm going to Control C, Control V. My primary font will be Octon. And I'm going to change this font to Octon. And I like this heavy. Pretty nice. And then I'll want a secondary font. Something that I can use throughout the campaign, but isn't, kind of a novelty font. So pick something that's different. You don't want two things that are too similar. And make sure that the second one is very legible. So for instance, I'll take something and maybe I'll just choose a pretty standard serif. I like Baskerville and Garamond quite a bit, so I'll plug in Garamond. Or maybe it's under Adobe Garamond. Alright, so those two, and this would be called Adobe Garamond. Alright, so those will be my two fonts, and I can change those later if I realize that throughout the campaign they're not working very well. Now it's time for colors. Now for your colors you need at least 5, you can have more, but you also need their hex codes as well. So let's talk about how to do that. We're going to jump over to Adobe Color. And let's let Adobe do some help. Now if you already know some colors in mind, absolutely. You can use Photoshop or Illustrator to pick colors, not a big deal. But I'm going to explore and I'm going to type in military. So let's see what comes up. I'm assuming there's some greens and browns and things like that. Now, I'm not just going to grab the first thing that I see. I want to spend some time. This, to me, is a cool color palette, but it's a bit too pastel. I don't like that. I kind of like the blues in here. That's kind of cool. This is a pretty harmonious green palette. It's kind of cool. But I'm probably leaning more towards like a sandy composition. I like this. This gives a little bit of range. This is kind of cool. I like the red in there. There's a lot of stuff to choose from. A lot of these drabs. I like these. This is pretty nice. I like this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. And then right here, it's got all of the hex codes available. So you can just copy this, come back over, and now I need to go to my layers. I need to unlink this one, and I'm going to double click inside of this field here and hit Control V. And there is that hex code. And then what I can do is tear in this by double clicking right here, highlight in the hex code, Control V. Make sure you get rid of that pound sign, you don't want that in there. Okay. And it didn't do anything, so let's try that one more time. Let's make sure I got the right color here. Oh, I guess it is a pretty dark black, so that's probably right. Let's copy the next one. Alright. Go back to Illustrator. It's fine, okay. Double click here, Control V. Grab this color puck, double click on the foreground color, Control V once you've got the hex highlighted, hit Tab, okay. And then I'd want to go through and make sure that the rest of these are the colors that I want. Textures, you can search the web for textures that might work. Like I think a camo texture would probably be kind of appropriate. I've got Unsplash up. These are where I'll find some images, but for right now, let's take a look at military textures. This is kind of, I kind of like this netting, like these bricks. I like this tire tread. Let me download this. That's a premium image. I can probably just right click and copy it and paste it right into Illustrator. So I'll hit Control V. It's quite big. Make sure that you hold down Shift when you do this. And then I can get rid of these boxes. So I'm really just looking for textures that might be useful. Military. Try to find fairly high resolution images. Of course, there's the camouflage, but the camo that I like this is kind of a cool riveted metal. Copy that. These are things that you'll probably end up using in your advertising campaign. So all of this does have a point. You're building out the brand. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Looks good. I'm going to skip over gradients and effects. I'll let you guys explore those. I want to finish up with the images, and that's where Unsplash is going to come in handy. So here I am in Unsplash. I'll go back, and I'm just looking for imagery again that I could probably use in my campaign. I don't want it solely dedicated to the military. I kind of want some outdoors and construction, so I'm going to type in construction. If I spell it right. Alright. Kind of like this image of these metals here. Not bad. I'm going to copy this. And then I'll come back over here, Control V. Whoa, it's big. Real big. Remember, hold down Shift. Don't squish these things. If you don't hold down Shift, you can do something like this, and you don't want that. Alright. And that's how I'm going to build out my vision board. So you will need a minimum of 9 images. You can have more. You can add more artboards if you need to. You will have 5 colors with their corresponding hex codes, 2 different fonts, the name of your client, the tagline, an overview, which is about a paragraph description, and any type of patterns, gradients, or effects. So once this is done, we'll move on to the next part, which is going to be the logo. Good luck.